Hey, good evening. Welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, I get these suggestions from Beth about the subjects that we can deal with that may help people who are thinking of finding a Filipina, marrying a Filipina, coming to live. There's a whole load of subjects that are all attached around relationships. So I have three. Beth thinks I'm a machine, you know, you got a switch in the back and it says go and you just rolls out, which is not quite the way that it is. But the good suggestion that she made was reinforced by a letter that I had from a subscriber who had met a lady that he was finding a greater degree of happiness with, even though he hasn't actually met her. But now, of course, we have the electronic media that you can meet someone to a far greater degree than ever before, because you can see them on video, you can talk to them, you can talk directly, question and answer, you can find things out. And so he wanted to know what he needed to know. So I'm just looking at my brief. It says, let me see, it says dating. Beth has written this down. It's difficult to see her writing. She speed writes, and I don't speed read. Dating a married, separated Filipino. What do you need to know? Well, one thing that you do need to know, and it's not all good news. The good news, obviously right up front, is that you've met someone that you obviously have really connected to, and you want it to go right. So rather than read the letter that I had asking all of the questions, or what questions should be asked, I'll go into some of the scenarios that you could have. It's the good, the bad and the ugly, really. If you've found a Filipina and you're not, the first thing to do is to, when it's early, first thing that you have to understand is that right at the beginning is the best time to ask awkward questions which you think might be embarrassing, or might seem as if you don't trust the lady, and all those kinds of considerations. Well, I would think that if you are looking for a lifetime partner, the first thing that you're going to want to know is what kind of stuff. I think the popular expression is baggage. What kind of baggage is she bringing with her? Nobody gets away without baggage. If you haven't got any baggage, you must have had an extremely boring life. So we'll assume that there is baggage. How do you find out what it is? The first thing to find out is she married or not? Now, if she told you up front, as this lady did with my subscriber friend, he already knew that she was married, and she had been separated for 10 years. Now, for those in the West, where you can easily get a no-fault divorce now, and although there may be financial complications, as in the case of, say, where someone has a business which is very successful, but if it was cut down the middle, it wouldn't be that much. It wouldn't be quite so successful, or so easy to be successful with everything cut down the middle in a divorce situation. So even not allowing for that, then we'll talk about the situation in the Philippines. The situation in the Philippines is very clear cut. They don't have divorce. So, no divorce. What do they have? They have annulment, and annulments, from the anecdotal information that I have, that is talking to people, The anecdotal stuff is that you go to an attorney and you pay a few hundred, from my information, you pay a few 100,000 pesos, and it takes time. So it's not an easy thing. So as in the case of my friend today that I've been communicating with, as in his case where it's up front that there's a divorce, that there's a marriage, a separation, the length of time that it has gone for being separated, then it's clear. Now that brings in a whole different kinds of questions. So let's deal with them step by step. First of all, how do you find out if they are married or not? If the woman is married or not, you find out by asking early on. If you given that you are seeing somebody that you think you could perhaps spend your life with, then ask for a settlement. And a settlement is a legal document that's issued by the government, and it tells you whether or not the lady that you're interested in is married. Is she married or not? And the settlement, C-E-N-O-M-A-R, settlement, the settlement is the name of the document which will tell you this. Ask for it soon. As soon as you find that you're liking this lady and she is making you happy and you're looking forward to see all of those early warning signs of success, then ask then, can we just, I am of serious intentions, so don't be offended, but I would like to see the cinema. Can you please apply for that and get it? So it might be a little bit difficult now because of the coronavirus, but it will be available. So you do that. Now, if there is no divorce, this is where things get a little bit tricky. So if there's no divorce and there has been no annulment, then it means that the marriage is not finished. Now, if it's not finished, that brings in several problems. You have to ask the following questions, and these were all questions that I suggested that my friend online on our messaging should be asking himself. He should have this information. Is the ex long gone? Has he left the world? Is he dead? Is exactly what the situation is. Now, there's a very good reason for wanting to know whether the ex is still, well, it's the not quite ex, isn't it? It's the separated ex. That's really what we're talking about. What kind of relationship is still in existence? Now, that doesn't mean you're not asking this lady that has been, in his case, has been separated for 10 years. You're not going out and saying, are you still sleeping with him? In America they have an expression for that. They called it buddy sex. I guess if it was in the UK they'd call it bloody sex, as in bloody sex. So you're not seeking to offend, so you prefix anything you say by I'm not intending to offend, but you ask what kind of relationship. Now that can vary. It can go from that he lives in the same town and they occasionally see each other. I have a neighbour that I certainly wouldn't want to spend any time with at all, and that is understood, but I see him in town. Now, so to that degree it's the thinnest sliver of a relationship that can possibly be. Why would that bother you? Well, under normal circumstances it would not, but in a particular case where the husband has been abusive, and has turned out to be a really bad guy, then it may be very important to you, because one, you may be hit up for money. If you're a foreigner, no matter what you say, it doesn't matter how much you deny it, you could show people a dozen copies of your bank account showing that you're not rich, and it will not be believed. So no matter what the evidence, if you're a foreigner, you're rich. Deal with it. So if that were the thin end of the wedge, where they just happen to see each other every so often, that would mean that the grapevine would be in operation, and whatever the lady is doing will be known by the man. Now, if he is a bad guy, if he used to beat her up, if he's jealous and possessive, he probably is in that situation where, and we've all had this, where you break up with someone, either they dump you or whatever happens, but they don't want anyone else to have you. So that they don't want you, but they don't want anyone else to have you. It's a sense of ownership that they have on you. And the wife beaters can be in that category for sure. So is he likely to start taking an interest if you're a foreigner? Because if he is a bad guy, he might see that as a chance to increase his income at your expense. And as I said, doesn't matter how much you deny it, you're rich. Now, compared to probably him, you could be defined as and described as rich. If you're in the Philippines and you don't have to work, that's a good definition of rich for a Filipino who is struggling to get by. Now, if he does decide that, hey, you might be good for some money, now, why would he think that he would have the right to be able to do that? It's not that he would have a moral right, but legally he would be able to bring a case against you. This is what is a difficult one about Philippine law, is that they have a law which, if someone is deemed to be unfaithful, and in other words betraying the marriage, then the victim of that betrayal, be it the husband or the wife, can bring a case against the partner, and that offending partner, like the other woman or the other man, can end up doing time in prison. Not something that as a foreigner especially you are equipped to handle. So you've got to be very careful on this. Find out what the relationship is still, if it is there at all. We have friends who have met and are committed to a relationship, one particular friend with someone who has a very sane relationship with their ex. There are children involved, and these are two people that were unhappy together and have now separated, but know that they have a mutual understanding and responsibility for their children. So they get along. They don't go through the annulment thing of throwing money away for them. And the friends that we've had, the foreigner friends who have taken up with people in this situation, can deal with it, because there's no insanity, there's no tantrums, there's no threats. Both partners in that broken marriage have come to terms with what has happened and don't make trouble. So you're going to be okay. But if you're not okay, then you're really not okay. Alright, so if you then decide that this is the case, you need to go for an annulment. And as I said, they take time, they take a lawyer, and they take money. And the lawyer will attend to all of those things, time and money. So be careful how you handle it. Now, doubtless there will be someone out there who has met a woman who is unfortunately the victim of this kind of situation and the law, and is determined that they will continue and enjoy a relationship. So if that's the case, try to answer some of the questions that I've proposed to you. That you should know what kind of relationship is with the ex. Is he floating around out there still trying to make himself felt? If there are children, and if there are children, is it a good relationship between them, a sane one where they can deal with their mutual responsibility for the children and still get along? So I'm not sure that you would want that ex to be walking in the door when you're making coffee for two and have to make coffee for three. But if there's no insanity, then you can deal with it. And if there's not, to what degree has it gone cracked? And can you handle it? So these are all best handled up front when you're still thinking with your mind, with the brain. I like the story, I like the way of putting this, that if when looking for a relationship you are involved in two things, you should be employing the mind or the brain, if that's how you think, and you should be employing the heart. So we won't talk about anything that's down below the belt. We'll try to keep it on a straight path. So you got to use your mind, you got to use your heart. Now, if only the mind is used, then you may end up with a deal. Does this person have what I want and need, and is it going to cost me? Or does he have what I need, and can I love him enough to be able to accept and have a secure life? That would be using the mind only, but if you use the heart only, then you'll make impossible decisions. So as you go out looking for a relationship, a partner for life, it's best if these two items, these two things go together, the heart and the mind, and they should be going out hand in hand. And then you have a chance of looking at someone thinking, yes, I can love this person, but he's not going to be able to offer me any kind of security. And if you're still using the mind, you'll be able to make that decision based like that. But if you're not using the mind and you just go on love, you're likely to marry somebody who will end up so frustrated because he can't support you that he'll go off with somebody else anyway. So heart and mind are needed. Find out all the facts. Ask as many questions as you can right up front. That's the thing to do. Good luck. Hope this helps. Bye for now.